Hi, I'm Mary Margaret. Mary Margaret.
Good morning, everyone. How are we, class, this morning? Can I get a little bit more enthusiasm? This is organizational change management. Are you excited to be here? That's what I wanted to hear. Well, good morning. Welcome to the organizational change management track.
You're at the right table.
Welcome, Andrea. We have a full agenda for you. I'm excited and passionate about the topic of organizational change management. And it's exciting for me to see organizational change management really start to get elevated as one of the critical disciplines to delivering a successful project. So this track exemplifies that. And hopefully some of the content, the strategies, the best practices, and the real world stories we're going to share with you will enhance your knowledge of organizational change management. So we do have a full morning, and my job is to introduce the speakers and to tell a story. So I'm Bill Otterbeck, Assistant Deputy Director with the CAMUS Division at Department of Healthcare Services. I've been there about 3 years. Prior to that, 22 years in the child support program at the state and local level. Also with me is Kenny Moore with the Department of Public Health. He runs the IT planning and project management branch and has over 25 years in IT projects. Welcome, Kenny. To my immediate stage left is that Andrea Wallin-Rohmann, who's the Chief Deputy for Policy for the Department of Technology. She too has 25 years of state experience, notably at Department of Corrections on a multitude of successful projects. In addition to the state speakers, we do have Brian Lee, who's a Senior Chief Principal for Delegata, who has an expertise in program practice in the organizational change management. Welcome, Brian. We also have Julie Quinn, who is the Managing Director and Marketplace Leader for Deloitte, with a strong emphasis in organizational change management. So welcome, Julie. So the story I was going to share with you is this. I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I do, I look for intellectually stimulating fare. Unfortunately, Storage Wars wasn't on last night, so I ended up watching another show, and I won't reveal the name of the show other than to say it was reality TV. And so the part of the plot of the show was someone was going for a Guinness World Record, right? The individual was going to break the world record by getting on a 9-foot-high unicycle. They were going to be blindfolded, and then they were going to juggle hatchets for at least 10 feet from point A to point B. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's like the last project I was on, right? And so what I thought about in preparing for today was good organizational change management practices, good communication, good executive sponsorship will help you remove the blindfold from, if you're on that unicycle. It will help blunt those juggled hatchets that we are juggling in terms of fighting fires. Good alignment with your executive sponsor will get you off that unicycle and get you down your path to delivering a successful project. So we're here to help you keep off the unicycle and to keep that juggling as safe as possible. So welcome. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Lee to get us started with our content.
Great, thank you, Bill. Good morning, it's a pleasure to be here with you. So I'd like to get to know you just a little bit real quick. How many have been subject matter experts on projects before? Okay. How many have been project managers on projects? Okay. How many have been project sponsors or executive sponsors? Okay. How many have been part of the project team to actually get everything done? All right. Cool. So those perspectives are active in this heat map. And so our goal this morning is to have you create a heat map that we all can contribute to so that we understand where we have some gaps and how to communicate for effective change management. Okay, that's what we're going to try to achieve. To do that, we need to begin to orient ourselves to what it takes to get things moving. Now, a few years ago, there was a book that came out, Tipping Point, and it entered our culture, and that concept seems to be active a lot. And so before you have a little quiz that you can take and figure out which one of these characteristics are present in you. Sometimes it isn't about you. You actually recruit these characters, the mavens, the salespeople, the people who are always going to sell the ideas and make them real for people, or the connectors, those who know everybody. Every one of you know the person in your organization you can go to who knows everyone else. Those are your connectors. Your mavens are your subject matter experts on the most important aspects of your project or your change or your solution. Take a moment and see what you are. I had a friend who took this and they said, I'm not any of these. And then I asked them, so do you tend to recruit or ask somebody to join you in your project or your change that do have these characteristics? He says, oh yeah. And immediately started thinking of who those people are. So after you've taken your little quiz, you can find on your table it's hidden, you have to find it. This little packet of arrows, and you can pull a little arrow, and you can put it on your card, and you can indicate what kind of character you are, what kind of change collaborator you are. Okay, you got about 1 minute to get your arrows put on there. And as you do, show it to each other at the table so you get an idea who's at the table. Are you a table of mavens, of connectors, salesmen, mixtures of both, all three? Okay. Okay. Now with those perspectives in mind, let's go forward with organization change management as work we need to do. And the reality is there's a natural demand for organization change management. And we play key roles. We talked about those key roles that you all play. And today we're going to have some interesting ideas and some practical strategies. And this is, you can get credits in your project management curriculum. So these are the objectives of today that we're looking to achieve. And articulate why OCM is essential to project success. See if we can come up with that answer. Discuss practical strategies, ideas, and tips that you can apply immediately to affect change in your project. This heat map is a practical strategy. And you'll find out later that there's some additional tools that you'll be able to use that leverage or build on these things. And then play a key role in making a difference in your organization. All right. So let's talk about the natural demand for organization change management. People make the journey of change. Take all the people out of the equation, what do we have? Just a pile of assets. A bunch of empty rooms. So when we have all the people in play, then all of a sudden the people are saying, all right, what's this all about? They have questions, and we have to answer those questions. Otherwise, we lose them. They don't really want to be a part of it. That's the natural demand. So when we look at at change actually starts in our current world, right? People come to work every day, and what are they doing? They're keeping their system running. They're doing what is all of the work that's already on your plate. Change is an extra thing. I got to meet with I have to have my staff meetings, I have to go to my staff meetings, I have to do my operational work, I got to keep that business running. And at the same time, the environment changes, and all of a sudden we have new regulations, we have new policies, we have outside drivers that are causing us, or inside drivers, like our technology is too old and we have to replace it. We have all these drivers of change that are impacting us and telling us we can't continue to be the same thing. And we are tired of the problems and we want to improve too. So we've got these drivers and these ideas for improvement. The future pictures, once we decide to change and we get an idea where we really want to go and what we want to become and how we want it to work, we start seeing people who are the change champions. How many people here have been the change champion of a project? And when you first start, you're all alone, right? And you can tell the story one time. No. 172 times. In every different setting. How many have had to go tell it to the legislators? So you can keep the funding. So everybody knows it's going to continue. So that future place starts off with a few people, but ultimately the goal is that everyone ends up in the future. Because that future becomes the new current, right? So when you're in that mode and saying, okay, we're going to have this future, your change champions are being asked this question all the time, what's the change? And you have to answer it in so many different ways because you need to answer it in the context of the person who's asking. Because they need to see it from their point of view. And they want to know why the change. And these 5 questions emerged out of this whole tipping point concept. And there's an article that you can read, and we have a link for you that is about tipping point leadership. And it fundamentally is about 5 questions that everybody have answered. And we see the what and the why. And they want to know in the why, it's not just why generally, but why now? I mean, I have things to do and you're telling me that I have to go to meetings now and I have to be a part of something. It's not working. Then you say, okay, we've got this current world that we're living in and working in, and we've got this future that we're trying to get to, and we've got to have our governance. We've got to have our executive sponsor, our project sponsor. We have to have our business advocates and our technology advocates. We've got to have all these people playing up here. And so governance says, all right, I see the current world, I see the drivers, I see the vision, the possibility. It's been proposed by the change champion. Let's go ahead and commit to do it. And that decision gets made to actually make the journey, but that governance is required throughout the entire life cycle, isn't it? If that governance goes away, our power goes away. And it fizzles, and we can't hit the future mark. And so along the way, what the governance is always being asked is, what's in it for me by every player? But here's the key. Anybody working as a project sponsor and executive sponsor, they have that question too. And unless they get that question asked and answered, they won't be a good sponsor because they have to know what's in it for them too. Now the roadmap, that's when we have large projects, is it just one thing to do, or do we tend to have many sub-projects that make the thing successful? Well, it's always a staircase of change, and it's always interdependency, and it's always complex, right? Complex is just simply the number of things that are relevant at any given moment.
things can be too complicated, but complexity needs to be understood. And the roadmap is where you figure all that out. You got to do the first things first and the second things second. And people are going to challenge every one of your choices. As project manager, how many times have you been asked by your project team, yeah, I hear what you're talking about, but what about? What about this? What about the fact that everybody's going to be on vacation? What about the fact that, you know, the guy who is the guy I've got to interface with doesn't like us? They won't come to the table and meet with us. Oh, what about? These what about questions are full. And guess what? Those what about questions are actually the beginning of buy-in. They really aren't resistance. They're beginning to buy in by testing in their own mind whether it's really going to work or not. So you make room for the what about questions, and you answer those, you get your frequently asked questions of the project. So what we walked through were 5 perspectives of change. And we start with the purple up here, or the people, because change is only going to happen as people choose. And they participate, and they ask their questions and get their answers. But they are going to be working in 4 different contexts. They're going to be working in the context of current, governance, roadmap, and future. And they're going to be asking these questions. How am I doing, and how are we doing? That's the message of progress that people need. So let's picture this. You've now been asked to be a part of a project team. You said, okay, what is the change? Okay, all right, sounds like a good change. Why? Why are we doing that change? Well, because the law changed, and we have to be compliant by Tuesday in September. Okay, good, all right, that makes sense, I understand, okay. But what's in it for me? What do I get from this? Because I'm currently working in this space. You want me to be a subject matter expert, you want me to be a developer of this, you want me to be a project sponsor, what do I get out of this? And you have to answer that question. Sometimes it's really hard to answer that question. You appeal to why people care about their work. You say, hey, it's an opportunity to do something new. There's all kinds of ways to answer that question. And then they test you and ask their what about questions. Now they're still on this side of the line, and they're not really part of the change yet. But you've asked them, and now they're ready to move. And they step over into the change. Guess what? When they come to work every day, they no longer know how to predict success. Because the world that they just stepped into, this change world, is full of things they don't control and things they haven't figured out yet. So they need to ask the question, how am I doing? And they need to get the answer at the frequency that they personally care about. And as a team, we need to ask, how are we doing? And we need to get feedback on how we're doing. That's the rhythm of organization change management, is the frequency that we allow ourselves to ask and answer the how are we doing question. Okay? So with these 5 perspectives, we end up with 4 contexts that the people are working in. The future starts off with a few, maybe just one, and it grows until everybody ends up there. The governance is overseeing and making sure that we have what we need and solving big problems for us. The roadmap is the project teams that are working together to make it happen. And the current is where you go to work and keep the business running and then decide to let it transition into the future. Very hard work. Those perspectives are the context in which we have to ask and answer these questions. So what do we mean by what? What is changes 4 things at a very summary level? If you want to describe your change, one of the first things people want to know is my job going away? And so you want to say, here's what we're keeping. And then you say, here's what we're adding. Adding tends to be fun. And here's what we're modifying, and that comes third because what we kept and what we add have to work together, so we probably have to modify what we kept, and we probably have to modify what we added so it all works together. And so modifications also tend to be where people's pet peeves get solved. in the context of the change. The opportunity for those little changes that will really make a big difference if somebody would just listen to me. And then retiring. How hard is that? Pretty tough, isn't it? But if you do it purposefully, we can actually carve out where we want to retire a system or retire a business unit and allow everybody to transition to new roles. But boy, if you leave that unclear, you create a whole lot of fear. And it doesn't have to be there. People just need a chance to process it. So be clear on your what. And your why. Well, there's fundamentally 5 reasons to change. And the most fun one is to become something next. That's the, hooray, it's an adventure, it's an opportunity to just become completely the next thing in this long journey of my career, and I'm really excited about that. Or improve things, or optimize relationships, or mitigate those risks, or to just fix a whole set of issues that we want to solve. The reality is most changes are a combination of all of these. Okay? What's in it for me? Change disrupts everyone's comfort zone. So the first thing they want you to address is how they're going to be comfortable again. Because you've already told them they're no longer comfortable, because they're now threatened by the change. So give them the answers that they need by understanding what they care about. What's in it for me? And that's stakeholder by stakeholder, and that's what's really critical. And then what about? Now here's the key. Reasonable people require a reasonable explanation, and intelligent people require an intelligent explanation, so always provide a reasonably intelligent explanation. That will take care of most of the issues and answer the what about questions. And remember your answers, because those are reusable. And they're your frequently asked questions list. And then how am I doing? People leave their comfort zone where they can predict their success. And they no longer can. So it's your job as the leader or the manager or the change champion or the executive sponsor to be that feedback loop that they need so that they can feel confident in their new challenge. And they need that rhythm of progress. All right, now, with that framework in our minds, and first of all, is that pretty familiar to everybody? It's not uncommon, not new, right? You're pretty much living all of this all the time. So really, all we're doing is saying, hey, let's interact with it a little bit more intentionally and see what kind of benefit we can get from what we already know. Does that resonate with all of you? Okay. So this is how we're going to do it. At your table, you have this chart. And so for each table, you're going to work together to fill out this chart. And you have dots. See the dots on the table? You got red, yellow, green. And as project managers, we're all used to those colors. The red is going to be for the gap, and the yellow is going to be for so-so, got it covered, and the green is we do it pretty well. Okay? And we'll show you the instructions here in a moment. But as a team, what you're going to do is you're going to end up putting dots on it. And here's the key. Each one of you has a life experience on projects. You have played different roles in those projects. So let your choice be kind of the summation of all of your life experience. What do you tend to see to be true from your life experience? And so take a few moments and all contribute to your heat map. And first of all, do your red dots. And here's the instructions. And find the pain points. Do you, for example, always tell people in the future, people you're asking to be your change champions, are you really clear on answering their what question? What is this change? Those people tend to talk about it a lot. But are you really clear in answering that question for the project team? Or are they only really aware of their role within the project? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, go for it. Place all your dots. And we'll come up with, each table will have their own heat map.
So do we each choose the dot?
Everybody choose. It's your life experience being consolidated on a single heat map. All right, so
Starting with your team.
everybody grab dots. And
So starting with red, where the areas of difficulty.
which areas do you see the gap? The question is
Yes,
the number.
So each person,
Tell me where you want the dots. Everybody's putting their dot on the name points.
You have to put one in each square, just the ones that are where you have experience.
Okay, you got about 90 seconds.
It's just easier to start with your hands, right?
Yes, okay. We're now going to consolidate your work into one big chart. So very quickly pick somebody at the table to be your dot carrier. And we're going to consolidate the red dots. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick the cells where you had the most red dots, and you're going to want to bring up the number of red dots that you have cells with a lot of red in it, and you're going to want to place those up here. So let's have a table that's ready.
Just an example.
Yeah, we
Who's
need,
got theirs down that they?
good. Okay, let's take this one. All right.
we're kind of
Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where we have red outnumbering. This is equal, so we could probably skip that one maybe. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who's your dot carrier?
Why don't we show everyone what it looks like? So you're saying the majority of red will then have one red dot up here? Is that what you're saying? Okay. So who's your dot leader?
All right, come on up. Come on down. It's a team. Partner up. Bring up some dots.
I think he can handle it.
It's an auspicious
So
task.
I'll hold this for you. And you go over here to the board. All right? And in the cells where you have the most red dots, go ahead and place a red dot up there. All right, keep going. All right. All right, need more red dots over there, team? Okay. All right, tables. Pick somebody at your table who's going to be bringing your chart up here so you can fill it in.
All right. Is that it?
You got it? All right. Thank you. All right, come on up with
Thank you.
Great job. Next table, come on up.
Good job, Wayne.
All right, I'll hold that for you. All right, let's see what we get. All right, thank you.
We're doing red, just red. So majority red, but that's not majority red. Yeah, it's a majority red.
All right, we're starting to see your collective wisdom form a heat
Majority
map
red, yes.
for
Correct.
tipping point leadership
Thank you both.
communication.
Jerry,
You got it.
there's a lot of red on yours, Jerry.
John did that. That's not what that's
I'm sure we can come up with some.
All right, good, gentlemen. This is great.
We're doing red only.
Oh, we're doing red only? Oh, okay. See so much I listened to the instructions.
That's okay.
I'll pull
There's
that
a
up.
pattern here, excuse me. There's a pattern.
Ah, good. Jerry, there's your dots. Would you like me to hold this? Okay. Yes.
Just doing red.
Where it's majority. So here you would not do red, there you would. Yes.
Are we just doing red to keep it simple?
I think that he's.
And if it's evenly, Brian, if you have even numbers, red in another color,
Then you can put it if you feel real strong, but otherwise you sort of have a pattern. All right?
Okay, and then you want up here? Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
thank you.
On the far one.
Okay, Marlene.
You did this
All right.
Yeah, I did
Okay,
this one.
I think you got it. All right. Thank you. Okay, did we get every table up? All right, come on up, guys.
They're working on theirs still.
All right, they're moving and grooving.
Do I have my finger
You
on
need
the
more
dots?
red? Okay, we'll get you some more red.
All right. Welcome. Do you want me to hold this one? Oh, sure. Thank you. Majority red. If it's even with the other colors, then it's your fault. Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, we have collected from your life experience the gaps in our ability to communicate for change management, to meet the natural demand for organization change management, and let's go from the bottom up, okay? Your current, everybody working in your current, we're seeing that the what question is not being asked and answered well enough. People aren't clear enough about what we're actually doing with the change. And then our why question isn't being answered well enough. And then down here, we're not giving people a chance to ask their what about questions so that they can kind of move into the support of the change. And then when they engage, they're not getting enough feedback on how we're doing. So that's the story that your life experience is telling right now. Then we go to the project teams. And the project teams are sitting there, we're seeing that there are team members who really don't know the what of your change. They might know their piece, but they don't know the whole thing maybe. And then we have a little bit of what's in it for me that isn't clear, and so people are still guessing what's in it for them. And then we have this, what about they're not getting enough opportunity to test whether or not they can buy into what's really going on. And then we're not giving them enough feedback as the project progresses. Then our governance. Think of your executive sponsors and project sponsors and control agencies, and we're not telling them what clear enough. So they need to, they're holding that question, what is this change? It isn't clear enough to them. And then we're not clarifying the why properly in a way that they would understand it. And then look at this, maybe we never thought of this, is that people in the sponsorship roles are also out of their comfort zone, and they need feedback on how well they're doing, okay? Then we get up to the future, and the future starts with a small individual or a small group of change agents, and they're starting to rise, and people are joining them. Everyone who is a subject matter expert starts becoming part of that future. Everyone who contributes to testing starts becoming part of that future, and along the way, we're seeing that we have some problems actually asking and answering all of these questions for all the people who are becoming part of that future. I heard somebody say, you know what, I took over a project and I assumed this is already communicated. Maybe we need to remember to communicate it more often. So here is your heat map, and thank you for that. Well done. So as you wrap up this segment, ask yourself, what does organization change management mean to you? What is your personal definition for organization change management? And this gives you some context in which you might want to answer that, but here's what it means to me, is organizations choosing to move. And the
the organization's choosing to move, because an organization is people, and people need a chance to choose, otherwise we'll never move. Okay? Thank you.